Hey there, Knicks fans. How you doing? It's your boy Jonathan Macri with you for another edition of the Knicks Film School Podcast. This is a little bit of a different thing that we're doing tonight because I'm just joined by two of my best friends in the world. Let's see, who should I bring on first? Which of these esteemed individuals is the more esteemed of the two? Let's start with Andrew because everybody's used to him. Hi, Andrew. How are you?
Hi, John. I'm great to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Such a pleasure. And making his return, God, put a gun to my head. I couldn't tell you when the last time he was on. It feels like it has been at some point in the last year. My buddy from law school, Bernard Ozarowski. Hello, Bernard.
I believe it was for your birthday, you dick.
Oh, he forgets that
thanks.
moment.
Thanks.
I
don't feel the love anymore, man. We worked so hard.
Oh, man.
You know,
I had like a half-naked screaming child on me, and it's such a dick.
Because I forget that because it came at the end of the season. That was Game 5. Their season ended 2 days later. By that point in the season, I was so exhausted. Like my brain wasn't functioning at all. I was like, let's just get to the finish line in one piece. And then that was a fun night though. That was a very fun night. I enjoyed that. So that's the last time I talked to you on this. It's probably the last time I've actually heard your voice or seen you because you've been busy.
Really?
With things.
I wonder if there's another occasion where you saw Oz or heard his voice and saw him in person.
Oh, that's right. I saw him once in between.
Oh, my goodness, John.
At your wedding. Which I was not drunk for.
You just have no love for either of us. Jesus.
Can I hold on behind the scenes? Not only did you see him, but there's a moment that I specifically remember. I was like, "Where's Macri? Where's Oz?" I found you guys on the deck, alone talking to each other. So you had like a full.
It was really nice.
I'm not saying it wasn't nice. I'm saying I know you've seen and heard his voice because there's a moment where the only thing you saw was his face and heard his voice.
It's good to see you, Oz, for the first time since whenever the hell I last saw you, which I guess was in early July. And so we're doing a thing on this episode. We're doing a draft, our final draft that we're going to do until the season starts. We've done a lot of drafts this summer. This draft's going to be a little different.
Final draft. That's quite a catchy title.
Has a nice ring to it.
And we are doing this draft, which I think I'm going to let Andrew explain this draft. We're doing it in celebration of a new chapter in our lives, specifically in the lives of Andrew and Bernard. I don't know if anybody knows this. Andrew and Bernard used to have a podcast together. It was called Final Review. It was something that I genuinely look forward to every week. But unfortunately, I think it became something that maybe the two of them didn't look forward to as much as they would have liked to because it took them 18 hours to research every episode. Is that fair to say?
Probably a little more for Andrew. Probably about that for me. It depended what series or movie we were watching. I watched when we did Halloween, I watched so fucking many of those movies, like the dog shit one with Paul Rudd. It was really and Andrew cheated occasionally and was like, I watched that movie in clips on YouTube. And my OCD was like, no, it's 3:30 in the morning and I'm starting another fucking dread. Like there are some movies by some directors that I'd never seen before. And there was a reason I'd skipped them. But to have a credible list, I needed to fill those gaps. And I was suffering.
And for anybody who may be unfamiliar, the podcast we're talking about is Final Review, in which every week, I can't believe you guys actually did this, and you did it for a whole season.
25 episodes. Yep.
Yeah, 25 episodes in which you each made 10 lists that went 5 deep in which you ranked movies in different categories, and like Bernard was kind of referencing, Andrew, your filmography is not quite as extensive as Bernard's, so you would spend much of your week watching movies or clips of movies. But the product was great, and I know I've missed it from my life since it went away. So I guess before we get to our Knicks-related, see, I'm tying in the Knicks here, our Knicks-related draft today, Andrew, why don't you take it away and tell the folks at home what we're talking about here?
Well, so I want to just state for the record that while, yes, the final review was extensive and at times could have a lot of wear and tear on me as well as Oz, because while I don't have the filmography that he does, I did appreciate the back and forth that we would have. I do think we just have a good chemistry when we talk about movies. Him being the historian that I just go to for a lot of my movie opinions and his perspective on things, and me as more of the casual movie fan that sees a lot but does not see that many. You add in the editing time and it goes much longer than 18 hours. So it ended up being, especially every week, a bit of a chore.
And we did more bonus episodes than real episodes.
That's the other part is like, oh yeah,
I love the bonus episodes.
So a movie came out today and we want to see it and we want to talk about it, and that added on to it. And then, you know, all the work we do at Knicks Film School added on to, you know, people in my life that I want to see. So we took a step back and decided that to pick up where we left off would not be feasible. I'm specifically speaking to the final review audience, that there's a crossover at Knicks Film School, because there's a lot of people that reached out to us like, bring back final. There's a super chat last year, bring back final review. And I was like, you got to understand, I'm in the midst of a playoff race with John. Like, John was exhausted. I was exhausted. We all ready for the next season to end. I got a wedding I'm planning at the moment. So to bring back final review to then add that to it didn't work out. But Oz and I actually reconnected over the summer. And we said,
didn't ever lose connection. We exchanged hundreds of texts a day. You're making it sound like a breakup.
We reconnected in the sense that it was like,
we both know that.
It was like, let's talk about
occasionally you text something to us that's meant for your wife, but it's never as like fun or tittillating as one would hope.
Mm-hmm. I don't text. I'm not a fun or tittillating guy. Anyway, Andrew, you were saying, so you're bringing something back.
We are reactivating the feed and rebranding. And it's no longer called Final Review. It's called Final Draft. We are taking the movie draft concept, which is made popular by a lot of different movie podcasts. So our favorite one, The Big Picture, does the draft concept. There's the All Fantasy Everything podcast. Our entire summer of Knicks Film School content was like, what are we drafting? Let's pick a thing and draft it.
Drafts are fun.
I think it's an outstanding concept that we're going to utilize on this episode in just a minute. But the way that we're going to talk about movies going forward is in the concept of drafts. So to give you a little behind the scenes, there's going to be 3 different types. The first type is going to be called a Mount Rushmore. That's when we have 3 people on, which is what we're going to be doing today. Plain and simple. We're each going to draft 4 movies, snake order. So it's 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. The next type is going to be called fantasy football, which is where you draft. We will have a guest on, and we're each going to draft 6 or 7 players or 7 movies that are going to have to fill specific designations. So, you know, this director or this movie year or this, you know, this genre, you're actually going to have to fill in specific roster spots. And then there's what's going to happen a lot on our show, which is how we did our first episode, which airs on Monday.
Hey,
it's going to pick up hoops is the third kind, where we're both just back and forth drafting 5 movies in a particular genre. For episode 1, we did best comeback movies, because this is the comeback of us talking about movies together. And like, yes, like you're going to judge and you're going to vote on who wins the draft each week. I'm just personally excited to talk about the movies that I see and the movies that I love with this guy again, because I learned something new. And there's even like a portion of episode 1 where I just kind of turned back into an interview and I just fed him a bunch of questions about the MCU and the state of it, and be like, hey, what's your perspective on this? What's your thoughts on this? Because I wanted to know. And so I think you all, if you have an interest in movies, will enjoy this too. And we're here to kind of introduce that concept of what the show's going to look like in just a second. So that's our big announcement. Final Review is now Final Draft, and we're excited to have all of you join us on this new venture.
This particular venture is going to be very Knicks-centric, so we don't bury that too much here.
Yes.
No. So this episode we're drafting. Well, we should probably be a little clearer about originally Andrew pitched this as Knicks movie moments, movie moments in which a Knick was featured, in which the Knicks were mentioned, in which the Knicks had something to do with. And I feel like over the course of our discussion about this, it expanded a bit to include television moments, which I'm very happy about because, well, we'll find out.
I know what you're drafting in the first round, Macri.
I'm not sure you do, but okay. And I guess
Twitter's going to decide who wins, so maybe you're not going to take that in the first round.
Yeah, I don't know.
We draft from our hearts here.
We do. Listen, I'm not going for the win here. This is all about going from the heart. But also movies that featured Madison Square Garden as a sporting venue, or television shows theoretically which feature Madison Square Garden as a sporting venue. I don't know how creative we're going to get with the ties here, but we'll figure that out along the way. Drafting 4 pieces of filmography each, and I think that's it. Did I forget anything, Andrew?
I think this is going to have a similar spirit to the anything Knicks draft. You know it when you see it. And as far as Knicks-related pop movie or TV content, but I'm excited to see the direction that this goes, because I'm wondering if there's going to be stuff I've never seen that you guys are going to go turn to. So, Oz, this is your first draft with us, not your first draft with me. And the way that we decide the draft order, I have a very complicated and high-tech system called high card draw. So we're going to do a quick shuffle. Okay.
He never shuffles on camera. You notice that?
I do notice that. Trust me. I've accused him of chicanery many a time.
A table to shuffle. How's this? I will cut on camera. Okay. And then Oz, your card as our guest is a 4.
Fuck you.
See? That's screwed.
All right, John, your card is a 10.
You know what? Andrew Claudio is an upstanding citizen. never
Let's see if you still say that after I reveal that my card is a 4. Ooh, Oz and I have a high card off. So,
man.
Oz, your card is a Jack.
Hey, I'll take it.
And then my card is a Joker. Okay, that doesn't count. So my card is a 10. All right. So Oz, you're the 2 pick. I'm the 3rd pick. John, you're the 1st pick. This is the Knicks movie TV thing draft, and I'm excited to see the direction that this goes.
So I honestly had not given this a ton of thought in terms of like if I got the 1st pick or if I got the 2nd pick or anything of that nature. That said, I have been a Knicks fan for obviously most of my life, and I guess 30 years as a Knicks fan. Half of that time, I had not half of that time. He was in Knicks uniform for 15 years, but I didn't start becoming a fan until about midway through that time. Whatever. The most significant figure of my life as a Knicks fan, hands down, is the guy whose autographed picture I'm looking at on my wall right now, and that's Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing, maybe he was in another movie besides this one that I'm about to draft, but the one that I feel he's certainly best known for. Well, actually, that might not be true now that I'm saying it out loud. I mean, the one that he is best known for as a basketball player is Space Jam. And that is what I'm going to take with the 1st overall pick.
Andrew with a grimace.
I knew Andrew wanted it, which is part of why I'm taking it. But like, look, when you think of it features a Knicks, so it qualifies for this draft. But when you think about basketball movies over the course of our respective lifetimes, let's call it the last 30 years ish. I
like that rounding. I'm going to use the same thing.
Since we've been like cognizant of stuff, if it's not the first one that comes to mind, it's one of the first 2 or 3, and it's the only one that has any connection to the Knicks. So I will take, even though the Monstars stole his powers and he was about as useful as he was in the 94 finals against Hakeem Olajuwon. I will take Space Jam featuring Patrick Ewing.
Jesus, shots fired. He just took out your boy Patrick Ewing.
Listen, he was not very good in that final. Let's just call
it. Oh man, this. I don't know if this would have been my first pick. This is very high on my list of Knicks movie moments when the Monstars initially take the powers of the guys, both Barkley and Patrick Ewing. Yep. And it happens at the Garden. That's going to feature a lot in how I process this draft. I don't know about you, Oz, but moments on the Garden floor where the Knicks are playing are good. It's just a reminder.
I have a guess on your first pick.
We'll see. We'll see which direction that this goes. So Oz, you have the second pick. You're up.
Well, I'm delighted because I was worried when Macri started teeing it up by talking about being old that he was going to go for the choice I'm going to make, which I think is for someone who grew up in the 80s and 90s, probably the most iconic Knicks thing in pop culture. And my pick is Spike Lee's film, She's Gotta Have It. And the reason my pick is She's Gotta Have It is because that is the genesis of the character Mars Blackman. And you best know Mars Blackman from all of those great Spike Lee, Michael Jordan, Is It the Shoes commercials. And look, this is, without question, the single best film that is going to be picked today. It's the only film that's in the National Film Registry as selected by the Library of Congress. It's actually good. It's Spike's first movie. He remade it as a TV show with Anthony Ramos from Transformers, right? As the same character, which is not as good a version, but even more Knicks centric because he just wears Knicks shit all the time. Unlike the Spike Lee version, who wears a lot of Jordan stuff. But this is for someone who grew up in that era and who always knew Spike, even as a little kid before I was watching Spike Lee movies, I knew Spike for his signs at the Garden. And it's as iconic for a Knicks fan who's 38 years old as anything. The Mars Blackman character, She's Gotta Have It, my first pick.
Roland Emmerich is very upset right now, suggesting you said that Gotta Have It is the best film that's going to be drafted in this.
How dare you?
That's a great pick. It's fantastic pick.
I co-signed the Spike. Is this a Criterion movie too?
I don't think it is. It should be. Okay. I don't think it is.
I was gonna say the Spike Lee of it all. This is probably the best director that's gonna get drafted today.
It's Spike. It's Ernst Dickerson. It's like a rogues gallery of people who are really good at making fucking movies.
Yeah.
This is his second film or first?
First. It's his first.
This was his first. This came before Mo Better Blues.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it did. Yeah. It's in black and white. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
It's like 80 minutes long. It's really worth tracking down. It's a good movie.
It was on Netflix during the pandemic, and
I think it might still be because I think they bought the rights because of the TV show.
That makes sense. Good call. This is the industry knowledge you'll get from Mr. Bernard Ozarowski on Final Draft. So I have two picks, and my first pick is not the movie I would take first, second, or even third in any draft, but Oz, I'm going to take you on a trip down memory lane when it comes to my history drafting things on this podcast. So 3 years ago, when we were coming up with off-season content, you did one of those drafts, actually. We did an all-decade draft where you had to...
Ooh, I'm gonna take a body blow here, aren't I?
Oh, no, you're not. That's actually when we did the 90s draft with Yash. That was actually really fun.
Yeah.
And... that was a good draft for the 2000s draft with Jeremy. One pick before me, he took Carmelo Anthony. Then last summer when we were doing pick drafts, we did the third pick where basically the pool of players we were selecting to our teams were players taken with the third pick. One pick before me, Jeremy took Carmelo Anthony. Then this offseason, we did a draft of the best Knicks wins of the 21st century. I had the third pick again. And the first pick was John taking Carmelo Anthony's 62-point game. And then the second pick was Jeremy taking Melo's on Easter Sunday. So I didn't get Carmelo Anthony in any of those drafts.
Wait, let me guess. Are you about to take Ralph Simpson?
No. So that's funny. First of all, if you know, you know. But with my first pick, I am taking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows.
Lou Amundsen.
specifically the scene, not even the garden scene, where Mello meets Vern at the party and he introduces him to his girlfriend, and you actually get actor and line reader Carmelo Anthony in a movie.
Hey Vern.
You're next, yeah.
Big fan, big fan.
Oh my gosh, Carmelo Anthony right back at you.
Yeah, nice key to the city.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, they give this things out. Hey, Mello, do you mind if I call you Mello?
Not at all.
Listen, I'm really glad that you stopped me, because guys like you and me, we're kind of the same.
Right.
You know, we bring a lot of joy and hope into people's lives. We got that kind of star power. And while it's a gift, this bond that we have. Hey, Mello, I'd like to introduce you to my girlfriend, Alessandra.
Girlfriend? We just met a week ago.
Nice to meet you.
Now we're all over each other. Stop it.
I have finally drafted Carmelo Anthony in one of these drafts.
I felt a little conflicted. I saw this film, this piece of footage in the theater.
It's in focus, yes.
Me too.
I felt a little conflicted about it this time around because I also saw the more recent Turtles movie with my kids, and it was the recent one's in my 2 cents, far superior. But Melo's not in it, so
this is solely a Carmelo Anthony pick. I finally drafted Carmelo Anthony in one of the Knicks Film School drafts.
You got him. Congratulations.
I can't believe you're leaving out the part where the turtles are like in the rafters of the garden in the weird, like creepy CGI shit they've done, watching like Lou Amundsen, like dive after loose balls.
Yep.
That's great. You know what isn't in that scene? Carmelo Anthony. So I think
he might actually be there. Just like
he might be. What I remember is Mello playing Mello, talking to Will Arnett, and it seeming convincing that he's not acting on screen. Anyway, that's my first pick. My second pick is going to be, so I have 2 choices at the moment. One is a moment that it's funny. It seems like since this moment, the Knicks have actually turned their franchise around. So it's almost like that particular character is no longer doing the thing that was causing all the bad things. But I'm going to leave that Pixar film out there and go to 1998 and go to Roland Emmerich's Godzilla, where the beast, the big lizard that's attacking New York City, happened to lay eggs in Madison Square Garden, and an entire lower bowl of eggs are suddenly hatching to create the next species. And apparently, if you believe the science in that movie, every single one of these lizards / dinosaurs, when they're born, they're pregnant. So they all have nests that they're eventually going to lay and repopulate, and this would create replace all of us. And what they do is blow up Madison Square Garden, spoiler alert, by the end of that movie, because it's the only way to protect the human race from becoming overrun by these animals. So for the entire Madison Square Garden scene in Godzilla, I will take that. Shout out Hank Azaria.
Bernard, did you see this in the theater?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I
so I don't know if I ever talked about this on I can't imagine why I would have talked about this on the pod. My first fanboy obsession before Wolverine, before obviously before the Knicks, before like all the nerdy crap that I love. My very before dinosaurs, even my very first thing that I loved was Godzilla. As is the case, I'm sure, with kids all over the world, because it's freaking Godzilla. And that never wavered. I would like be the kid, I'm maybe you guys will like this too, who would go to the video store and like rent all of the Japanese movies, like repeatedly rent all of the Japanese movies with dubbing and the whole thing. And to this day, I've never been more excited about any movie to come out than this movie. And boy, it did not live up to what I was hoping for. It was the most disappointed I've ever been seeing a movie in my life.
So for final review, we did Independence Day.
I remember it was a good episode.
And I talked with coming up with a top 5 for Roland Emmerich was not the easiest. And I said during that pod, Godzilla's fun. Like it's innocent trash. Like it didn't ruin anything. I don't care about anybody else's filmography because, well, he did Godzilla. I can't look at them the same way now. You know, there's nothing egregious that, although the CGI when you rewatch it today with HD and 4K is tough. I still have fun with it. You know, if you approach it with that mentality, yeah. Like I sat down and watched
you
it. Though, okay,
I was like, I wanted a Godzilla movie, not a friggin' comedy. It was just not. It's not what I wanted. Anyway,
Oz, any thoughts on Godzilla? 1998.
I want to be nice to potential future brand partners in my new career. So I'm just not gonna say anything about the Godzilla movie.
Okay.
I'll share my new career at the end. No, that is an incredibly bad movie. I just holy shit, it's so bad. It's aged so poorly. Like, Claudio, what the hell, man? How could you rewatch that? How could you get through it? You're tougher. You're tougher than I ever imagined. I can't.
It's fun.
I respect you. I really. Wow.
If you listed out 100 possible casting choices in 1998 for the lead of a Godzilla movie, I'm not sure Matthew Broderick would. And I love Matthew. I mean, Matthew. You know, Ferris Bueller is one of my favorite movies. I'm not sure Matthew Broderick would make that list.
They were going for the post Goldblum thing.
Yeah, that's what they were doing. Anyway, Bernard, please send us back. Great Turtles movie and a Godzilla movie. Andrew, you're off to a flying start.
I think I'm taking the second best movie on the board right now, and it's not the Pixar movie. It is a fantastic comedy that, in part, I love because when I was in law school, I was one of the lucky first people to experience John's basketball fandom and his earliest days as a basketball writer. And once upon a time, John had a very hot take on a certain player named Danilo Gallinari's trade value. And it was, I'll be nice and just say that it was very high. It was perhaps a little bit.
You can say what it was. I said there were only one or two players.
Two players. Yeah, it was the third most valuable asset in the NBA, Danilo Gallinari. And there's a lovely film that features Mark Wahlberg in a Danilo Gallinari jersey sitting courtside at a Knicks game next to Will Ferrell and for some reason Brooke Shields, called The Other Guys. And The Other Guys is actually incredibly funny. It's aged really well. Even the scene, it's like a whole bribe, like Steve Coogan, that guy's great, is like bribing them with Knicks tickets. They're cops. It's so good. It's so funny. It's actually like, it's a good movie. Will Ferrell's on the giant screen at Madison Square Garden. It's perfect. It is everything that Claudio, you said should define a great Knicks film. Scenes on the court.
I love that movie. Don't get me wrong. I love that movie. That scene is... 40, I have nothing against it. It's like, that's the thing. It's like such a small, again, you're hitting at it. Steve Coogan is bribing Will Ferrell and Wahlberg's characters.
Because what do the heroes value more than anything else? Mm-hmm. Those 45 seconds at Madison Square Garden.
Right. I think the scene that it might actually be shorter. That it's Will Ferrell on camera saying, "I got Knicks fever," and then it's Gallo on the court, and then it's Wahlberg turning to Ferrell and being like, "Oh, I think we just got bribed and we fell for it." And then they go back to the office like, "Don't do that to us again." And then he gets them Jersey Boys tickets, and then next thing you see is a jump cut to them watching Jersey Boys on Broadway. There's also the bit that Ferrell's character is irresistible to women, so Brooke Shields goes, "Call me."
Yeah.
I love that movie. They shoot Derek Jeter. I love that movie.
We've talked about this movie. We talked about it a long time ago, and I let you know then, and I'll remind you now. This movie's just not my brand of humor.
Because you hate fun.
That's it.
You're a bad person, John.
Also that. Any of the above.
I'm glad it got taken. I love that movie.
Okay. I'll stick with the theme. It's just the best movie. No, it is not. But it is definitely the most Knicks movie that will be drafted today.
Are we doing it?
I'm gonna take Eddie.
Eddie gets taken. John,
of course Eddie gets taken.
I was hoping it wouldn't.
Please explain the concept or the plot of Eddie, the movie.
So Eddie, which is a movie that is now, my Lord, almost 30 years old. So Whoopi Goldberg, who was transformed really kind of overnight into a I don't know if she was an A-list star, but she was Bernard A- list star, B+ list star.
A pretty big star once upon a time. It's a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, coming off of winning Best Supporting Actress for Ghost, which
a great movie, that movie, by the way.
What?
Great movie.
Yeah, I love. Great. Yeah, Ghost is fantastic. She was, thrust into the Hollywood spin cycle and made a lot of movies, and including I'm not sure how many movies she was a lead in, but she was the lead in this movie in which she played a taxi cab dispatcher who was a big Knicks fan, and through the Knicks, I think, either got a new owner or the owner was like fed up with the team sucking and was like, we need to try something different. And they basically picked her in some kind of contest to become like coach emeritus for a night. And eventually hijinks ensued and she became the full-time coach of the team. I sat down and watched maybe half of this movie a few years ago because someone asked me to go on a podcast and talk about it. And I had actually never seen it. This movie's horrible. It is. There's nothing funny about it. But it is about the Knicks. And like there are basketball players in it, including, by the way, Mark Jackson, who you can see on your television sets this upcoming season, filling in apparently for Walt Clyde Frazier when he's not doing commentary alongside Mike Breen. That should be a fun experience. Anyway, I don't know. I just feel like it needs to be taken because, again, it is the most Knicks movie that has probably ever been made. Is that not correct?
Oz?
I mean, I guess so. It's hard to. Well, there's a very, very poor movie that came out earlier this year that might actually be more Knicksier.
So I'll argue this over the movie you're mentioning because I don't think. Well, I think we. All right,
we're not taking Sweetwater. Please, nobody take Sweetwater. It's like a weirdly racist movie about the first black.
I didn't see it.
It's really bad.
Well, the first black player to sign an NBA contract of any kind. Not the first to appear in a game because I think someone who played for the Celtics that year. Yeah, appeared in a game earlier. Anyway.
So my defense of this being more that's an autobiography or that's a biopic, that's not necessarily a movie about the Knicks. That's about
it's a movie about suffering.
Right.
Used to watch it.
So like you could literally swap out. I know like the true story is that it's Knicks related, but you could swap out the team and it wouldn't change the story necessarily. Whereas they chose to write a script about moving
that's the thing.
The New York, taking a Knicks fan, like this movie is about Knicks Twitter, like a Knicks fan that knows more or believes they know more about the team
than Tom Thibodeau.
Coach better than the current head coach.
But it's
and
not
then leads them to the playoffs. That's John Sally who plays the backup center whose knees don't work anymore.
He's good.
Right?
He's good
basically Taj, but in this case, Taj would get benched for Jericho Sims.
No, thank you.
The late great Malik Sealy, who goes by Stacey Patton in the movie, that the roster they assemble in Eddie is pretty nuts. Is all I'm saying. Like Mark Jackson, Rick Fox, Greg Ostertag is on the Knicks there. Anyway, enough about Eddie.
I have not seen this next movie that I'm about to pick in a few years. I remember seeing it in the theater. I remember seeing it because I was so hyped for this movie because it was like right when I started following the NBA. And it was a movie featuring a lot of NBA players. I didn't know it was actually a romantic comedy featuring Billy Crystal in a role that was slightly preposterous. But I went and saw the movie. And I found it hysterical as a 12-year-old boy at the time. And that is Forget Paris. And Forget Paris features many scenes on NBA courts. The most memorable of which is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar getting in Billy Crystal. He plays an NBA ref. He tosses Kareem from his farewell game.
Hey, Nicky, Lambeer's got me in a headlock out there. What are you waiting for? Blood?
Technical foul. Who's shooting? For what? For what? Do you want another one? Do you want another one?
What did I say? Just because you're having a bad game, don't take it out on me.
You're out of here, Kareem.
What are you nuts? This is my farewell game.
Oh, good. Well, let me be the first to say farewell. Get out of here.
No. You're nuts.
Yeah,
man.
really? Hey, what are you laughing at?
Nothing.
No? technical for lying.
Are you out of your mind?
Am I out of my mind? Am I crazy? You're out of here, too.
You threw me out of the game.
Take a walk, I say.
What the hell's going on?
Oh,
you don't run this league, Mickey. Nobody paid to see you, ref.
Nobody paid to see you do anything. Get out of
What?
here.
This is not over, Mickey. I'm going to see you again.
Good, because I'll still have this.
Big deal.
You're out of the game.
Yeah, it features Ewing, Starks, and Oakley in a scene. I'll do the Godzilla thing that Andrew did. I think this is a fun movie. It's not good either, but I think if you sat down, you will find that it is kind of almost worth your hour and 45 minutes or whatever the runtime is. And fun performance by who's the actress, Bernard? Do you remember?
I've actually never seen this movie.
Oh my God. Oh, wow. That's a blind spot. Yeah, this is worth your. It's a Billy Crystal.
I'm not sure the last time I've admitted that on a podcast. I'm not sure it's ever happened before.
I think it's Deborah Winger.
Deborah Winger.
I think it's. I was going to say it's Deborah. I thought it was Deborah Messing, but it's probably Deborah Winger because the dates don't really line up for that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's Deborah Winger. I mean, not that Billy Crystal has that incredible of a filmography. It might be like in Billy Crystal's like top 5 list in terms of movies.
Correcting?
I don't know.
It's what Analyze This and When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah. After that, what do you
City
got?
Slickers.
Okay. So I will say this: if you're an NBA fan, I think this is arguably as enjoyable as City Slickers. That's all I'll say.
Throw Mama from the Train.
I remember that one. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Forget Paris. That's my pick.
Forget Paris, ladies and gentlemen. Oz, you're up.
Oh man, I'm really torn on if I want to do something mean to Andrew right now or if I want to make the pick I actually want to make. So I'm going to make the pick I actually want to make instead of being a dick and going after Andrew's favorite actor. So I'm going to go with Soul, which is the third best movie that's being picked in this draft today. And I'm not even trying to do it based on quality, but Soul has perhaps the cruelest, coldest, most soul-crushing joke that encapsulates what it's like to be a Knicks fan. If you've not seen this film, it's about how people find their essence, the thing they're meant to do in the world. And one of the things the sort of trollish soul does is fuck with other souls as they're trying to find their destinies, like sending someone to be a singer who can't sing at all. And what this soul acknowledges having done for over a decade at that point is sending people destinies, causing the destiny of people to play for the Knicks who are not capable of playing basketball.
Check this out. I have been messing with this team for decades. And the Knicks lose another one. Again, as someone who is old and remembers when the Knicks were good every year, and then remembers very clearly the Isaiah era, this is something that you feel. And this is written by Kemp Powers, a big Knicks fan, who this joke written by him as well, who went on to work on the Spider-Verse movies. So got a lot of talent behind this movie.
Academy Award winner, Kemp Powers.
Academy Award winner, Kemp Powers.
For this movie, yes.
I enjoyed this film. I do not think I will ever revisit it, but it was good. It was very good.
I feel like it's exciting because it was upsetting and now it's exciting because it's all about like waking up in the middle of your life and being like, boy, my life kind of sucks and let's try to make the best of it. Only he just like is like, oh yeah, I'm going to make the best of it instead of just, quitting your career and starting something new and finding something much happier.
It does represent. Is this the turning point for Pixar, where Pixar started to go towards like we're no longer making movies that to entertain children that just so have that like will be enjoyable for adults too? It feel maybe this was the culmination of the turning point. I don't know.
I think it was the culmination of the turning point. This was definitely a like we don't give a fuck at all. We're going to put a cute cat in there and have some cat jokes, and that's about it. And otherwise, it's all about like midlife crisis and like creeping ennui. So great movie.
I think the point you made when we initially talked about this, Oz, was that it used to be subtle when like Pixar is actually talking to the adults in the room in the theater. Yeah. That this is a song. This is a scene that has Jessie singing a song about her owner growing up and leaving her behind, and to the kid, that's like, oh, the toy got left behind. And for the adults in the room, it's like, oh my gosh, I grew up and forgot all about what it was like to be a kid and the things I cared about as a child when it was so much easier and less stressful. And Soul just like skips all of that and is just like, are you happy with where your life is now? I think the coolest part about Soul is that it premiered or came out or back at that point was made available on Disney Plus for all of us a couple weeks before the We Here season started. So the season that really turned the Knicks' fortunes around, it seems,
it's a good call,
happened after that ghost did that. So, or that spirit did that.
Pretty sure that just means that Kemp is the master of the reverse jinx. So good job by him.
Shout out Kemp Powers.
Great job.
You're invited on the pod.
I was about to say
anytime.
Come on the podcast.
Yes.
All right, Andrew, you got your last 2 picks.
I got 2 picks, and I don't get to choose Eddie. My first pick is Hitch. Oz mentioned it. My favorite actor, Will Smith. I appreciate you, Aj, for keeping my favorite actor's name out your you-know-what mouth.
We can't say fuck on this anymore?
We can, but I feel like we've hit our fuck meter. So I'm just...
your fuckometer?
My fuckometer, exactly. So regardless, in the movie Hitch, Will Smith plays a date doctor that helps men that don't have the game is a way that people call it, the charisma, the ability to talk to women without being too nervous. And he helps them find their perfect matches. And he specifically helps out the guys like Kevin James in this movie that are meaning well and are actually looking for a life partner, looking for a member of the opposite sex for the right reasons, not just looking for one night stands. And in this movie, there is a scene where Kevin James takes his date throughout the movie to a Knicks game and sits courtside because she's like super famous, and Will Smith worked his magic and it worked. And there are scenes of them sitting courtside at the game where he's teaching her how to whistle with his fingers. And they share a hot dog at one point and everyone thinks it's cute, but has no idea why he's with her. And I love this movie because it's just awesome. And I'm a huge Will Smith fan. So that's my first pick.
Who is the famous person he's trying to get with again?
Allegra Cole. It's like a made up person, but
no. But who plays that person?
Who plays that person? I got to look it up, but I'm not sure.
Because that's what I'm trying to. Amber Valletta.
She's quite pretty. Yes.
Yeah. I'm just like, I remember what a huge deal this movie was when it came out in the mid 2000s, like 2006. And like, this is one of those weird time capsule ones where it's like, you look back like Will Smith, Kevin James, and Eva Mendes were at the center of popular culture once upon a time in our world.
There's a scene where he teaches Will's trying to teach him how to dance.
I remember.
And
that's what it's all about right there. See how it gets bigger? I'm gonna start the fire, but the feet are going. I start the fire, I make the pizza. Hips are always going with it. Can't get enough hips. From there, the Q-tip. Q-tip. Throw it away. That's not working. You hit it with this.
Don't ever do that again.
I would not have said this at the time, but now reflecting back 17 years later, this feels like a movie that AI could have generated, from the script to the cast to the. This was like, as I was watching this, I remember like this was just like they spit out a formula and like, populated it with like, oh yeah, here, let's do this. And it not my cup of tea.
So Oz, correct me if I'm wrong, but when the Sony leaks happened, there was stuff in there about either a biography of some sort about Will Smith and the formula that he followed for his career. That it was like, I got to be in superhero movies, I got to be in space movies, I got to be in rom-coms. And this was, you want to talk about AI, this was literally him following an algorithm. And in this movie, just playing like a very formulaic romantic lead, $371 million at the box office later, the formula worked.
That's exactly right. I don't remember if it was the Sony leaks or maybe his own like autobiography. I'm sure Yash can tell us, but I think no, he had like a whole thing, like a whole game plan he came up with when he was like in his 20s of like each thing he needed to do to be a star. And he studied like stars from the 70s and 80s, like Tom Cruise, and like what you need to do to be the biggest money making star. So a little, it's very artistically motivated. Let's put it that way.
In fairness, worked for more than a decade.
Yeah.
So, good job by him. You have another pick. So let's see. You've gotten Carmelo Anthony, a Big Lizard, and Will Smith. I can't wait to see how you're going to finish off this draft.
I'm not even putting Hitch as the name on the Google Doc. I'm just putting Will Smith.
That's probably for the best.
For my last pick, there's nothing pulling me. There's nothing that's standing out as like, you need to get this, Andrew, because if you don't get it, you'll be upset. So what I'm going to take is a movie that was directed by two Knicks fans. And the Knicks reference is kind of subtle. The behind the
that's
scenes,
such a stray.
The Knicks tie is really more behind the scenes because the Safdie brothers are both giant Knicks fans. They initially were going to put Amari Stoudemire in Uncut Gems and base the movie's big bet at the end, the big parlay at the end, around the game that Amari hit the buzzer beater against the Celtics. That was then waived off because he got it off too late. The Knicks reference that I'm going to is because they got Kevin Garnett to be the athlete in the movie that is dealing with Adam Sandler's character with Howard in the movie. And at one point when he meets Kevin Garnett, him being a Knicks fan, Sandler's character says, Amari's buzzer beater in 2010 should have counted. And throughout the entire press tour, the Safdie brothers said, like, we believe that should have counted. Even they went on the Ringer and talked to Jason Concepcion at the time, and they were like, that should have counted. And then they rewatched the play and saw it clearly was in his hands. And they're like, no, it's not synced up. It was out. And so there's like a photographic evidence of it being in his hands, and they are holding on to this lie. So I appreciate it as a fan. And for diehard Knicks fan Howie in this movie, as well as the Safdie brothers, I'll take Uncut Gems with my last pick.
Let me undercut my list for a moment here and say that I actually think this is the finest film that's been selected today.
Hey.
It's my favorite movie that's been selected.
I don't even think it's close. I think it's too much of a stray to count. And I actually would be interested in seeing the movie they were going to make with Amari, which is going to be a lot more about like his conversion to Judaism and how that ties into
really
the Sandler character. There's way more
no
into
idea.
it. And the other runner-up was future New York Knick Joel Embiid. So there we go.
That's right. Shout out, by the way, to speaking of Adam Sandler, for one of the most delightful 2 hours I've had watching a film this year. The movie they made with his daughter, or daughters, I should say, right?
Oh, it is good.
Yeah,
I'm totally not invited to the bar mitzvah or whatever it's called.
Mitzvah,
It's good. It's really funny.
Yeah, strong recommend there. Anyway, okay, Bernard, you're up for your last pick here.
So I am going to jump to the realm of television with my last pick, and I'm actually not going to shank Macri. I'm going to go in a different direction here. And I like these characters who are identifiable entirely by their Knicks fandom. And I think over the course of the last 15 years, the single character best and most identified by his Knicks fandom is Turtle on Entourage. And one part in particular sticks out, which is when he's going to, late season Entourage. That's good, but whatever. He's putting together a restaurant and calling famous friends in New York for advice. And one of those friends, Amari Stoudemire.
Well, Amari, what? You think cash growing trees?
Your trees, maybe.
I gotta think if I want to put the original 250 in with you, Turtle.
I'm telling you, Amari, you don't want to miss out on this. I got everybody. I got Mello. I got Eli. I got Strahan.
Oh, you got Strahan, huh? Who got me for what?
I spoke to him today.
Hey, Turtle's on this Don Pepe thing. Oh, yeah. He called you for more money? Oh, yeah. What'd you tell him? Tell him to go fuck himself. Yeah.
Amari, listen.
Hey, go fuck yourself, Turtle.
So my simple last pick, and largely for the overarching fandom, because he's always wearing a backwards Knicks hat or a Ewing jersey or something like that, is Cherry Ferrara for Entourage. I feel really good about my list. This is great.
By the way,
Yeah.
Jerry Ferrara, you're also invited on the Knicks Film School podcast anytime again.
Jerry would probably come on, right? I think he'd come on.
Listen, I'm not in the Josh Hart Foundation, so I'm not able to
Look
make that connection. I've been going through agents and whatnot and assistants, but so you're invited anytime, Jerry.
So I was going to stick with a movie if Bernard took a movie, because I figured everybody else took a movie, so I'll finish it off with a movie. But since Bernard went television, I'm going to take an episode of a television show.
Yes,
is the most. I don't even know if you. I'm not sure you know what I'm going to pick.
You're not picking Sex in the City?
You took my honorable mention.
Oh,
I thought you were going to take Sex in the City like the first round.
Okay, so I'm taking Seinfeld, the limo.
That's also a fair choice.
Seinfeld is my favorite show ever. And season 3, there was an episode. I can't even talk about the episode without laughing. Basically, George Costanza and Jerry Seinfeld pretend they take on somebody's name in an airport to get a free limo ride, only to find out in the midst of the limo ride that they are impersonating Nazis. Who are going to, and George is the Nazi that's going to, the plan is for him to make a speech at Madison Square Garden on that night. And while they're in the limo, they find out that it's during a Knicks Bulls game. And then there's another scene, not in the limo, featuring Kramer and Elaine, in which Kramer talks about how Michael Jordan's coming and he does like a spin into some trash bags. It's hysterical. It's a great episode of the show. All the episodes of the show are great. So that's what I'm taking, because it is, again, my favorite show ever. In my top 3 shows ever, I will give my one honorable mention is Sex and the City, season 2, episode 13. Games People Play. Now, this is more commonly remembered as the episode featuring John Bon Jovi, who shares a therapist in the episode with Sarah Jessica Parker, and that is a whole plot line. But another part of that episode features the gals, if you will, going to a sports bar, and Samantha meets a man, and she ends up dating the man for a while, but she finds that she is unsatisfied in the bedroom because this guy only will engage in certain activities if the Knicks win.
What activities?
If the Knicks win. Now, here's the thing. At one point during the episode, she's like, I'm not getting any action because the Knicks stink. But this episode was released in August of 1999. So this is coming off their finals run in the strike shortened season, so that it would not seem to jive. But if anybody remembers, the Knicks were pretty bad that season. They finished the year 27 and 23 in strike shortened season. So it does track. And then at the very end of the episode, the Knicks play their last game of the season, and she's like, yes, I'm going to finally get laid on a regular basis. And the guy is like, well, now I could devote all of my attention to the Mets, which LOL Mets. That is my honorable mention. I would have, if the draft went a different way, I probably would have ended up with it. But anyway, yeah.
I thought you were going to take the episode where Cynthia Nixon dates the Knicks team doctor.
So the other episode you're talking about is they go and Cynthia Nixon thinks that the man she's dating, who is the Knicks team doctor, is flirting with one of the cheerleaders. But then she realizes that and this is before they started. No, sorry. This is before they started dating. And then afterwards, she realizes that, no, he's not into the cheerleader. He's into her. That's more of like a plot line. But I go with the other episode, the Games People Play episode, because the Knicks are really like a character in that episode, as opposed to just kind of like a thing that gets mentioned. So.
Do you think Michael Richards is upset that he didn't get to actually give the neo-Nazi speech in that episode of Seinfeld?
Leave Kramer alone.
Is any honorable mentions?
I have a deep cut honorable mention from a very, very Well, you know what? Fuck it. I like this movie. I'm going to say that I like it. In the movie Rush Hour 2, Jackie Chan's dream is to see a Knicks game at Madison Square Garden. And it doesn't actually happen in said movie, which is why I didn't think it was a good contender for the list. But I really love Jackie Chan. I think that's a delightful little plot beat. And that is my honorable mention. And I like that movie. I don't care if it's bad.
I love that movie. The third one gets a little weird, and I really hope they don't make a fourth one. But the Rush Hour movies are super fun. And that scene you're talking about when he wants to chase after the FBI agent that was helping them and was going to New York, and he goes, I always want to go to Madison Square Garden and see the Knicks play. And then Chris Tucker says, let's go get some Mushu.
There, I have another one, which is I'm surprised no one took it because it's very Knicks centric. And that's How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Yeah. It's the one I was going to take if it wasn't Uncut Gems. They're literally in the finals. I'm stunned that didn't get taken.
That's the only reason to take it, because nothing makes sense about the way they depict the playoffs in that movie. It's like they just teleport. But he is a big Allen Houston fan.
Wait a minute. Are you saying it doesn't make sense that it's 3 p.m. for Game 3 of the NBA Finals?
I'm suggesting that, maybe if they filmed this in the 50s, that'd make more sense. But
that's another movie that feels like it's AI generated, but McConaughey makes it watchable.
Oh, see,
boy, I would go the opposite direction on McConaughey in that movie. That is not what made it. Yeah, well, Kate Hudson's lovely in that movie.
Yes.
McConaughey is fucking awful in that movie. That is why we needed a reconnaissance.
But that's I completely agree with you. He's terrible in it. It makes it watchable. I think it's such a train wreck. Speaking of which, another honorable mention, Trainwreck, featuring Amari Stoudemire. That should be noted. And hold on. Oh, speaking of Kate Hudson, second cutest girl on film ever to be wearing piece of Knicks gear. Runner up to Jennifer Aniston from Friends, which I feel like should get mentioned as well. The iconic Knicks sweatshirt. So yeah,
agreed.
Anything else? Did we get everything?
Those are all the honorable mentions I wrote down. The train wreck scene. It's not even a scene. Amari Stoudemire is getting knee surgery, which I think I almost took it just to be like, you want to define Amari Stoudemire's career with one movie? He plays himself getting knee surgery by Bill Hader in that movie, who plays a surgeon. And then the end scene in that movie is Amy Schumer apologizing and trying to win him back on the Knicks home court. So
two very last ones.
Wait, I have one. Can I throw one?
Oh yeah, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
I thought it's just so weird that I think it needs to be mentioned, which is The Exorcist 3.
So that's if we were going to if you had taken a movie, I was going to stick with my 90s movies themes and take Exorcist 3.
Yeah, it is extraordinarily strange movie. And there's like a weird dream sequence where Patrick Ewing is in it for no fucking reason at all, in like a weird white cloak thing. I've not seen this movie in a very, very long time, but do you have
I've never seen the movie.
Oh, you've just seen the clip?
I haven't even seen the clip. I've seen the still frame.
I've never seen the movie. I have seen the hallway sequence entirely too many times, though. The jump scare that's
the good part of that movie. Yeah,
it's on top of many lists as like the number one jump scare in movies. So,
but the only other two I wanted to mention, we did a pretty good job sticking to the Knicks for this list. But in terms of Madison Square Garden, one of the Clubber Lang fights in Rocky 3 was at MSG. It was alleged to have occurred at MSG, or at least that was the outside shot. And then the greatest movie ever that takes place exclusively at Madison Square Garden, Eddie Murphy Raw.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that doesn't count. It's a good movie with a heart crushing scene at Madison Square Garden is Miracle. They get crushed by the Soviets at Madison Square Garden.
It's well done.
Very good job.
I feel like that'd be more for a Rangers podcast, though.
That's why I didn't pick it. We're a Knicks house here.
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're going there.
So I'm very excited for what you guys have in store.
Hey, wait. We got to read our teams.
Yeah, we got to read our. Come on.
Sorry. All right, I'll go first.
I actually think I'm going to win on Twitter.
I think you're gonna win on quality. I
don't know if there are already winners.
Oh no, John's gonna win for Space Jam, but no one knows what Forget Paris is. So
people might
Space Jam is tough.
I'm gonna look up how much money Forget Paris made. Space Jam, Eddie, Forget Paris, and Seinfeld the limo.
Oz.
She's Gotta Have It, and the Mars Blackman associated marketing campaign with Michael Jordan. The Other Guys, Soul, and Entourage.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Out of the Shadows. Godzilla, 1999. Hitch with lead actor Will Smith. Academy Award winner Will Smith. Ignore the details of what happened when he won the award. And Uncut Gems.
Claudio's list is some chaos energy.
Yes.
But by the way,
like a masterpiece and 3 just bags of dog shit.
Mm-hmm.
Forget Paris, $56 million worldwide. How you doing? No, sorry. I was looking at a different. Okay, IMDb says $33 million, but the internet says somewhere else says $56 million. It made a lot of money.
Hitch made $370 million. Uncut Gems did well too, right?
Yeah,
Uncut Gems did well and probably made like the same amount of money.
Yeah, probably. To be honest, yeah. Shout out 2019.
Hooray, yeah, A24.
Different times. Okay, now that that's over, I'm excited for what you guys have in store. I can't wait to become a regular listener again. And yeah, I mean, Oz, you want to say anything else? I mean, you've been busy of late. I don't know if you want to get into that before we get out of here, but
sure, I will share what I'm up to. First of all, I am very excited to return to the world of podcasting with Mr. Claudio. I've truly missed it, and we would have every so often like a little chat or a Zoom and be like, "How are we going to bring it back, buddy? We got to catch up." And we both be like, "I have no fucking idea." But Claudio picked a genius idea that we can do it in an hour without like 2 weeks of prep every single time, that we compress into like 3 days. So I'm delighted to be back. Please come listen. And yeah, I guess I've left Yash behind and I've joined Macri in the world of reformed, escaped lawyers. And I no longer do anything in law. And I run a drone light show company where we put up hundreds of drones in the sky at once. We did the Super Bowl, the NBA draft. We did giant shows for Netflix, F1, NASCAR. We just did Miguel Cabrera's retirement last week. Here's a drone for anybody.
That's really cool, by the way. I looked at it on Instagram and I was like, not that I didn't like already see your stuff and was blown away by the other stuff, but that spoke to me as a baseball fan. So that was really cool.
We did the San Francisco Giants, the Colorado Rockies, and the Detroit Tigers last month. So yeah, follow us on Instagram at Pixis Drones, Pixis Drones. And yeah, follow Final Draft on X, Twitter, whatever it's called, Instagram, all of those things. Thank you, Andrew.
I just put it up on the screen. It'll be hyperlinked in your episode description as well.
Everybody. Oh, yay.
Yes.
Backlinks. It's good for our SEO.
Yes. And I'm happy we were able to do this. It's been on the schedule a couple times over the last few weeks and it got pushed.
Not my fault for once.
I blame a certain half of America.
Whatever. I'm really happy we got this episode in. It got delayed a bit, but we got it in just in the nick of time, because the next time you will hear something on this feed, it will be Jeremy and I back in our usual spot where we will be, for all intents and purposes, every week from now until whenever the season ends, coming your way, when the calendar turns from, or when the weekly calendar turns from Sunday to Monday at midnight. And of course, after that, our very first post game of the 23-24 season, after Monday night's preseason kickoff between the Celtics and Knicks. Thanks everybody for checking out another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. We will be back with lots of good stuff coming your way very soon. Peace out.